Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast where we disassemble a film from the Marvel Cinematic Universe in 1 minute segments and then examine it in obsessive and occasionally hilarious detail. I'm Kyle Olson from the Swashbuckling Ladies Debate Society podcast.
Hey, and I'm Rob Cabasco. And Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Did you know that interviews are essentially structured conversations where one or more participants ask questions and the other provides answers? The interviewer asks questions to which the interviewee responds, usually providing information. This brought to us courtesy, as we all know and love, of Wikipedia. This is part of their series on how we research things. Now, here's this interesting. If it's out there, please, would love to know. What was the first, entertainment interview? That doesn't seem to be well recorded anyway. Right. But the best thing I could find was the first job interview.
Oh.
You have any idea when and who conducted that?
My instinct would be that it was Henry Ford.
You're very close. You're super close.
I'm thinking right in that era. Seems like when everything was commodified.
Exactly. No, it's Thomas Edison.
Okay.
And it is believed to be in the year 1921. Now, that's way later than you would think. But an interesting article in BusinessInsider.com talks about, look, if you look at the history of how work has been done, it went from survival to then, even the Greeks and the Romans apprenticeship, and then obviously a lot of unskilled things. You just, hey, you're doing this now. Here's a shovel, dig, right? So you did all that. Early 20th century, industrial revolutions happened. We're really getting into now things that require skilled labor, and this is where the job interview actually comes into play. And we've been doing it for 100 years at the time of this recording.
And as you listen to the last episode, we're still not great at it here at minute 122 of Iron Man 2 from 2010, Director Jon Favreau. Here we're going into the interview that we just did.
I gotta just tell you this. I had it in my notes, and I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to just dump all over us, but I was like, and speaking of unskilled...
Yeah, exactly.
There's these guys!
Talented amateur? I don't know. So let's talk about how this happened. So if you have not listened to Incredible Hulk, season 2 of Marvel Movie Minute, go back and listen to it. It's really good.
Oh, yeah, it's really good.
But
absolutely.
We did it, the second half of it, during the pandemic, during when everyone was in lockdown. So it was an odd time. So what I started thinking is, boy, it'd be really cool to find somebody that we could interview from the actual movie. And so I thought, well, there's no way I'm not gonna hit people up on Twitter or Instagram, whatever. So I realized, you could go through people's people. Like, they have publicists, they have agents, to formally go through and say, hey, we're a podcast, we want to do an interview, can we send? And I started sending stuff out. And I sent a thing to everybody in the cast. And actually got a response, and so we got to interview Terry Notary, and that was fantastic. And so for Iron Man 2, as we were up and rolling and recording episodes, I was like, I want to do the same thing. So I sent out to everybody and got nothing. Because by the time that, we were up and rolling, Hollywood was kind of opening up again, and I think everybody's going to get back to work. The nice thing about the timing of the first one was everybody was sort of at home. Now, that's not really the case. Everybody's sort of back to work. And so I got some very nice no's. I got close on a couple things, and then, I think kind of when it got to the upper levels of their talent agency, they kind of went, one of these guys are just a couple of schmoes.
I'm sure those chocolates we sent to Colin Jost got eaten. Way to go, Jost. Thanks for helping out.
Enjoyed them. So it looked like it was nothing was going to happen. It looked like I was like, okay, so we're gonna have to figure out something else to do. We're not gonna have a nice thing to go in the credits like we did the other thing. And then a miracle happened. As I made friends with a woman named Mandy, and in the conversation with her, she revealed that she was friends with Clark Gregg. And I went, wait.
Yeah.
The Clark, the Clark, your friend, Clark. And so I said, look, I don't want you to do me any favors in terms, I don't want you to sabotage your friendship. All I want you to do is put me in touch with his people. That's all I need. Just send me to whoever, press agent, talent agent, whatever that is. Let me go through the process. I don't want you to I don't want to set me up on a blind date.
Right.
Like
we don't want to be that favor. We don't want you to call in a favor,
exactly.
not for this. No,
right, exactly. I don't want to jeopardize. If we say something stupid, I don't want to jeopardize your friendship. Like
save your favors.
And she was kind of doing that. So then I started going through the process and worked with his personal assistant, and she was incredibly nice. And we had a lot of back and forth conversation about setting stuff up. And over the course of time, I said, here's what we're doing, here's what we want to talk about. And it came down to like, yes, you can have 20 minutes with Clark Gregg. And it was
awesome.
Like, what? Yes. I mean, it was I couldn't sleep. I was like thinking, because as you've heard the Terry Notary interview, like I got to do sort of a complete filmography, essentially. Like, where did you start? Like, working your way all the way through, going all the way back to his original show. I wanted to do the same thing with Clark Gregg, but it was 20 minutes. So I I had to like start cutting all these things just to get to sort of just the meat, because I know this is Marvel Movie Minute and this is Iron Man 2. So I couldn't. Would I have 100 questions about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I absolutely would. But I know that that's sort of outside the scope of what our podcast is. So I didn't necessarily want to do that. I kind of wanted to keep it contained to what we're talking about. But at the same time, I really wanted to have a conversation with him. So I put out my list of things thinking, okay, 20 minutes. Like, what are the highlights I want to hit? And I've interviewed a couple of celebrities. I've had those conversations. So I'm not interested in the same things that they've always talked about. I always try and find something that I know that they're excited about or they haven't talked about a lot.
Right.
But at the same time, I know this was also 10 years ago, and he's done Agent Coulson for so long that I'm sure everything got blurred. So I wasn't going to ask for specifics like in this scene, like on this shot, because honest to God, the man's been a working actor. I mean, look at his filmography. He's been working for a long time, so I was not going to try and pin him down to specific angles or shots or days.
Though some of the conversation went there anyway, but that's okay.
It did but that's the thing. It was trying to find that balance.
Right,
Trying to find it too. But I can tell you, I have never been more nervous to do an interview than in this one.
Oh, you and me both.
Yeah. I was so excited to talk to him, but I've never been that nervous to talk to anybody before. Like, usually I get to the point where that happened, and like a sort of a cool mist descends where it's like, all right, be cool, like be professional, don't be a fanboy, and I can get through it. But like I was like struggling to contain like inner fanboy the entire interview. Like I'm talking to David Coulson. Like I really was like trying to keep it together, and like you can hear, at least in the first part especially, me like yes, I am a serious journalist asking serious journalist questions.
Well, okay, so let's
stiff.
No, and here's the thing. Like, we kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this because we're obviously fans, and you always watch so many interviews, and you always think, oh, if I were doing this, this is what I would ask. No. When you're actually doing it, totally different experience.
Yes.
So, first of all, you start off with, you have a little bit of you're blinded by the star here, because this is cool that we get to talk to him.
Right. Like, we're used to looking at our little Zoom boxes, and then suddenly a movie star pops in.
There's a movie star, someone who we know, right? Yeah. Clearly. So that's amazing. And it started off with, it was a little bit like an arranged blind date. So there was a little bit of awkwardness.
Right. Because he doesn't know who we are.
Yeah,
and why should he? We know everything about him. He knows nothing about us. Are these going to be weird? Is this going to be like a weird psycho fan situation? Like, he doesn't know. Like, obviously, there are those podcasts and those YouTube shows out there.
Right.
So he has no idea what he's stepping into. Bravery it comes along with the job, I guess, because you really have to be able to be like, okay, what's going to happen now?
No, and I realize that a lot of this is, I mean, an agent their job is to protect their talent, and realize you don't want anything stupid to happen, right? So I get all that, but then you also add in, you're talking to a fanboy. This guy knows everything about everything that we're going to talk about. He knows more than us.
Right. I've talked to celebrities who are not fans of the thing that they're doing.
Right.
That's not a knock. It's just sometimes a gig's just a gig. But we know that Clark Gregg himself is a Marvel fanboy. Like, he knows his stuff. He knows his
we learned that.
I say that is one point I'll give to us, is we managed to bring that part out to say, like, you are among your own people, sir.
Oh, here's the thing. And what's great about it was that we went into it with two different agendas that obviously connect. This is how we've done the show. Right. You had the agenda of, starting right off with, Right, and your question starts off with a current project. Hey,
Yeah.
you know, what do you want? How do you feel about it? Are you excited? You know, and obviously promotion. I mean, I totally understand that. But a lot of your questions are
and
about
that's what I wanted to do.
right. You're talking about the functional. You know, what happens when you direct, and what do you learn from an actor? Is that, and you know, and your roles and how they connect and everything else. I came in with two things. I had two cards in my pocket. Number one is Mike. You know, the Mike Casper and Agent Coulson, are they the same person? His West Wing character in this, which man, and you listen to the interview, his answer was instant and definitive, as he said, right? And then I had like a little backup, like Sam Seymour and the Skrull thing, and he laughed. I mean, he got a kick out of that because he got a little rub there on Rob Lowe. It was great. My second one was, if you ever looked him up, Clark Gregg has done this amazing stint on Lip Sync Battle.
Yeah.
With Haley Atwell, and and it was great, and I had that ready, and the best is I got caught in the interview, because before I start to butter him up with like, well, you know, we've just been talking about this, and you're so great, and you're a much better friend to Tony Stark than Pepper Potts is, and then I asked this question, about who would you do on a lip sync battle? No. And he ignores it because he's like, oh, that's a good question. Don't have an answer for it right now. Forget it. Go back to what you were saying about this. Do you really know what you're talking about?
Right.
And I was on the spot.
I know. I just sat back like, oh boy, this is gonna be good.
Fortunately, we had just done that episode, and I was like, okay, I know what I'm talking about.
We had just recorded that episode and spent a lot of time talking. It's funny because if you go back and listen to our episodes about him, those were recorded before this episode happened. Right. I mean, so like we at the time did not know we were going to be talking to him.
Yeah.
So like all the stuff we're saying is not because like to butter him up or whatever.
No, it's real.
It was real.
It's
like everything
authentic.
we're saying is real. It's like this. That came much later.
That was so much fun.
We were given 20 minutes, and so like I was like watching the clock at 20 minutes, and so like I even at one point like sort of gave him an out, like. Yeah, that was our time. And he's like, no, keep going. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went down the list, and it literally we went 40 minutes. So he was enjoying himself enough that he stayed double the time. And the only reason it ended is because my stupid brain seized up.
I ran out of
questions. Like, because I had basically allotted for 20 minutes, and I sort of, thinking that it would go over. And so I had a couple of, like, extra bonus questions, and he went through them all and was willing to do more. But, like, adrenaline went crazy. My brain went, I got nothing else.
Dude, it literally almost got to the point of, like, do you like strawberries?
Yeah. I don't know. And that was 100% interviewer fail. Like that was I really should have had just in case it goes on, like get 30 questions, not 15 questions. But like I totally, because I would have had like a full page of stuff. But I knowing it was 20 minutes, I'm like, okay, I need to get to the intense thing. But I really should have written the other ones down because in the time. Could not pull anything out.
Oh, he was so gracious. I mean, seriously,
he was just could not have been cooler to us. Could not have been nicer with and more generous with his time.
Yeah,
and with his and having fun with us. Like he could have been just like, yes no on everything, and just like gotten through it. But no, he had really. I think he had fun with us.
Well, he did the best part is like what, and he did it so perfect. Like, what if you guys talk about what if, and I start going into this whole like explanation of it. And you are like dude, you're a dimwit. Like he's got you, and he just crushed you.
He knows exactly.
Then I was like, oh, I see how this is. Thank you, Mandy. I mean, really,
yes, thank you, Mandy, for making the hookup,
and thank Clark. I mean, hey,
yeah, exactly.
Totally.
Thank you, Clark Gregg. You have legitimized us in a way that no one else ever had. That was one of the best. Even though I feel like I biffed it, that was still one of the best.
Oh, it was fun.
Conversations I've had. I mean, that was so great. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Like, what can we possibly do to top that? Well, we can't really top that, but we do have more stuff coming. The show keeps rolling on. Like we have a couple more minutes left that we need to talk about, and we also have an appearance by Agent Coulson still coming that we need to talk about here. So don't unsubscribe just because we got the Clark Gregg thing. There's more stuff coming. So make sure you stay subscribed. Be back here at least for minute 123. I mean, it's least you can do after this. come back and talk about that. And we won't
Yeah,
talk
finish.
about.
It's going to finish. There's still more
Right,
stuff.
we got-
There's big
there's
announcements.
still-
There's announcements still. And
There's
big
announcements
things.
still to come. Right, you don't want to miss it. So we'll be back here for minute 123. In the meantime, check us out. We got a merch page. We got some brand new stuff is up there. So check it out. There'll be some cool new logos floating around. You might want to check out. Nextreel.com/merch. Check it out. You can put it on stickers, on pillows, on masks, on shirts, whatever you want to have.
Exactly.
I mean, we got, and then so a fresh redesign has come down on the store, so you want to check it out. So I'll be back here for minute 123. Enough said.
Bye.